Hello everyone, my name is Chloe Jennings and I work at Banham Zoo, but I actually work for the Zoological Society of East Anglia. Now Inspire Norfolk have asked me if I could do a quick video to show you guys all the different careers that you can do at the zoo, which would be fantastic. But a bit about me to start with. So I started working here when I was just 18 years old. Now, I didn't want to go to university or anything like that. So I started working at Africa Alive as a face painter and as a seasonal member of staff doing birthday parties and things. And then I decided that I really loved the job and I loved being around the animals. So I decided to do a degree through the Open University. And Banham and Africa Alive together let me do that while I was working. So I became an education officer and I worked my way up through doing things like that. And now I'm the senior education officer at Banham Zoo. But I work really closely with Africa Alive still as well. So that's a bit about me. I'll tell you a little bit about all the different careers. Now, when someone says, oh, you work in a zoo, they automatically think of one job. And I think all of you have probably thought of the same job as well. Now, that is being a zookeeper. Everybody loves the idea of being a zookeeper. But I've got some pictures here to show you the different things that being a zookeeper does. So I'm going to show you all the different things that you can do whilst being a zookeeper. So, as you can see here, one of the great things about being a zookeeper is looking after the animals. So here we've got our beautiful baby red panda. Now we have to make sure they're nice and healthy. So we get to have a look at them like this. And this is one of our keepers helping show the vet our new baby panda cub. But they also have to do lots of different treatments. So we have to look after the animals. Just like if you've got animals or pets at home, you have to look after them too. So in this picture, we've got one of our zookeepers and he's doing a little bit of hoof work. He's looking after our giraffe's hooves. Now we have to train our animals to make sure that we can do this without anyone getting hurt. So there is a barrier there between our zookeeper and the giraffe. And we've just got the foot that you can see there that we're looking after. Now, lots of being a zookeeper involves getting a little bit muddy and a little bit grubby. So here, two of our zookeepers are cleaning out one of the enclosures and one of the things, getting lots of mud everywhere by the looks of things there as well. And just checking, making sure we have the right number, which sounds a bit silly, but we have to do what's called a census every single year, and we count how many animals we have. And things like that. So here we're counting our meerkats. I wonder if you can count all of the meerkats that we have there, because they're quite tricky and often they run around, they don't stay still for a registration like we would have to in school. Now we've got two different jobs here. One of the most common jobs that every zookeeper does every single day is picking up poo. Now that's a common thing, whether it's a giant tiger you're looking after or whether it is a snail or a cockroach, we still have to pick up some of the poo. But one of the best parts of the job, as you can see there, is sometimes, not always, sometimes animals get taken home to look after, or we do a thing called hand rearing them. Now this doesn't happen very often, and it's the senior zookeepers that get to do this job, so the zookeepers that have been trained and been doing this job for a while. And it's only if we're allowed to do this. We can't just do it with any animal we fancy. It has to be if mum and dad have rejected that animal and if someone said, yes, you can take that home to hand rear it. So this is a picture of one of our bamboo lemurs who was taken home. I was taken up into the zookeeper's kitchens to be looked after for a little while, as you can see there. Lots of other things. So what we're doing here is we are checking the animals are nice and healthy. So we have to make sure they stay the correct weight. So our animals get weighed lots and lots. So the picture that we've got of the red lemur there, he's a red rough lemur, holding on to the bamboo as tight as he can. What the zookeeper is actually looking for is how heavy they are. They are checking they are the correct weight. Now, this is really handy to tell if an animal is pregnant, because it means that their weight is continuously going up. So it's a really handy way to tell us if we think one of our animals might be having babies. But as well, some of the other things that we have to look out for is things like sunburn. Now, when it's really hot and sunny, we put sun cream on to make sure we don't burn. For some of the animals, it's the same. So our pigs, we have Coon pigs. We have to put sun cream on them to make sure they don't sunburn. Exactly the same at Africa Alive, we have to put sun cream on the aardvarks to make sure they don't sunburn either. So that's a fun job for our zookeepers to do. Another thing that we have to do is we have to make their enclosures fun. Now, years and years ago, zookeepers used to just, or animals in zoos used to just have a cage and nothing in it. And nowadays, zookeepers try and make it as fun and as realistic, so as real as the natural environment as they possibly can. So this picture here is our zookeepers at the howler monkey enclosure. And as you can see, they're adding lots of branches, they're adding lots of ropes. So it's a bit like the rainforest where they would naturally come from in South America. And here, all our zookeepers are making sure there is enough food for our pandas. Now, red pandas can eat lots and lots of bamboo. In fact, they can spend 50% of the day, 12 hours of their day, just eating. So we have to make sure that we have lots of bamboo prepared for them. And that's one of our jobs that we have. That's a team job. We get as many of those zookeepers that are free as possible to take part in helping us there. We've even got some of our volunteers. Now we try and make things fun for the animals. So rather than just give them their food, sometimes we like to make things and hide it in it. So here's two of our zookeepers and they're making a giant ball that they're going to hide food in and give it to the tigers. So it makes it a little bit harder for the tigers. They have to think about how to eat their food. And that's something that's really fun for the zookeepers and really important. This is what we call enrichment. We make it harder or make it tricky for the animals to have to look after or find their food. So we do this a lot just to make it a bit funner and a bit more interesting for them. And it keeps their mind healthy, just like it keeps them healthy. So it's a really important thing that we do. Again, whether it's a big giraffe or a big tiger, or even a little rat or a little snake, we try and make it interesting and give them different enrichment to keep their minds nice and active. But zookeeping's not all glamorous and not making fun things. They have to repair the enclosures too. So here's two of our zookeepers repairing part of an enclosure. Now at Banham Zoo, we're really lucky. We've got some amazing enclosures that don't need fences. Instead, they've got big moats like here, and they've got bridges for the animals to go across. And that's great until something goes wrong. So here's two of our zookeepers repairing the bridge so that our monkeys, our marmosets, can get from the building to their island and back again. So it's really important, but quite a physical job. They have to make sure they're really nice and fit so they can fix all these things for the animals. And again, we've got things here. So sometimes we're doing things like looking after chemicals. We have big animals that go swimming and we have to make sure the water stays nice and clean for them. So we have lots of chemicals and things that we have to use. For the zookeepers to be able to do this, they have to be quite clever with their science. So zookeepers, we ask them to make sure that they have a qualification in science at GCSE level, if not higher in things like A levels or at university. But you don't have to go to university to be a zookeeper. You can simply be a zookeeper by going to college and doing an animal management course. And then if you're really lucky, we offer apprenticeships here where you can become apprentice zookeeper at Banham Zoo or our sister zoo, Africa Alive. And I've put a picture of one of our funnier residents there, thinking that a zookeeper is a bit of a perch and he's just sitting there being a bit nosy. Now, I've spoken a lot about zookeepers. That's the main job everybody thinks of when we say we work in a zoo. But it's not the only job. There are other jobs working with animals. So another job that we have working with animals is our animal trainers. If anyone's been lucky enough to come to Banham Zoo recently, you might have seen our bird of prey flying displays. Or if you haven't seen them, you might have seen our amazing animal shows. These are done by our animal trainers. So their job is to train the animals to do specific things. Now, in some places, they train them to do different tricks, like balance balls on their noses, if they're sea lions. But here at Banham Zoo, we want to try and use this moment to teach people about how amazing animals are without doing any tricks. So all of our shows show how animals have amazing talents, and we show their natural habits and their natural talents. So that's flying, foraging for food, and things like balance and jumping. So we'll show those sorts of techniques in our amazing animal show and our birds of prey flying displays. So if you haven't been already, I recommend coming to the zoo and having a watch of them. And if you have, maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. As well as animal trainers and zookeepers, there's one other department that works with the animals, and that is the education officers. So that's my department. We work with all of the animals that do feeding talks. So I always say to guests that I have the best job in the world. I feed the animals and I haven't got to pick up their poo. So that's quite fun. So we look after the feeding talk animals, we feed them for them, and we do the education sessions. And that means that we get to take animals out to schools, or schools come to us and they can hold or feel some of the smaller animals of the zoo, things like the cockroaches, the snakes, the snails, and even the millipedes and the rats. So that's a really fun job. So we do lots of teaching and we get to go out and do feeding talks as well. Now, it might be that you absolutely love animals, but you're not really keen on working with them. What people don't realise is there are lots of jobs in the zoo. We employ over 100 people, and over half of them don't work with the animals at all. Instead, we've got things like retail staff, we've got IT staff, electricians, we have gardeners, we have people looking after the shop and the restaurants, and we have maintenance staff as well. So there's lots of different things that you can do when you decide to work in a zoo. Now, the best thing is that if you have a bad day, you can have a wander around and just look at some of the animals. Now, sometimes it's quite a hard job to get into. People often think about how they're going to get into working in an environment such as this. And one of the best ways I say to get into working in a zoo is to volunteer there first. We offer a volunteer scheme for over 18s, they are now. But it gives you the opportunity to get close to the teams. You get to know the members of staff. You get to learn about the animals and about working in the organisation. And if a job comes up and you want to apply for it, it's a lot easier because you know the staff, you know the job role already. So some of the different places we have volunteers is the zookeeping. That's what we call ZAM. It means Zoo Animal Management. We also have animal training. We have education, and we even have photographers. And they're really enthusiastic people that come and just take pictures of the animals, and then we use them in our social media and things like that. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at some of the pictures of the animals and what we do. And I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the different jobs that you can do here at the zoo. Now, if there's ever something that you are interested in, you can email us at education@z.org. That's education@z.org. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and hopefully we'll see you in the summer very, very soon.